Hi, it's been a week of letting go and shedding skins and coming through and leaving old dead material behind that and whose vibrations are still present and connections to that are not useful in any way. So I'm going to run through quite a few, so it'll be quite a rambling this week. And in the rambling, you may recognize snippets of where it relates and where on relating and connecting with it, shed the skin, let it go, let the skin drop off or come through in the aspect of self, burst through. That very much is what showed up this week. So initially, the being that came, and a lot of it has been trying to hold on to, and it was like, what is it that this tenaciousness is holding on to? And we thought, well, let's have a look. What is this? And it was holding on to aimlessness. That beautiful feeling of, you know, how you wake up and the day's all yours and it feels there's a preciousness in the aimlessness because there feels a sense of spontaneity and the gratefulness of that presence that arrives and the holding on to it. And what showed up was extraordinarily profound, very much the Rudolf Steiner aspect of where here we are in this moment. Here we are in this absolute moment of now. When you look around, there's so much material. So we're here. But what showed up was eons and eons and eons and eons of time ago, where no matter had even formed yet, not even the etheric pattern to some extent, it's pre, and the unknowingness of that space and the perceived aimlessness of it. But of course, when we look here, we can see in many ways aimless isn't aimless, because look what it's produced with eons of time. And the energy was projecting it eons and eons and eons of time into the future. But when you join the dots of that process, we are in the eternal now. And although it may feel aimless to us, it isn't aimless. And being in the present with the best view going forward, with the open heart of the best for all, and staying on your own page with the wonder of that we can even be in this present moment, is quite extraordinary when we think of the eons of time that it took for even a blade of grass to grow. So with the seeing of this, there was an energy that said, well, this has got nothing to do with me. And the mind and the brain came together and said, I can stand in this. And again it said, it's got nothing to do with me. And it was that sense of, but I can digest this. And again, it kind of said it has nothing to do with me. And I thought, who is this speaking? That's going on with this has nothing to do with me. And sitting with it, what really came into presence was Walter Russell really has this magneto energy from which all develops and comes into, that it really gave a sense of the gift of being able to create, the gift to come into this energetics is a gift to you to do as you wish in the creation of it. It is such a freedom in many ways, and in that a great responsibility at the same time. And that followed with a being that came who felt slightly a frustration with things as they were. And what showed up is, and we've seen elements of this in the past actually, where she was you're an amazing fifth dimensional marathon runner. And there are people who are so awesome in what they do, and it feels so natural to them that they can't get over the fact that some people can't even run around the block. But when we can see who we are, we can then be okay that people are where they're at, and it's okay. And to enjoy the fact that you are the marathon runner. That moved to someone who kind of knew something was there but didn't really want to know what was there, didn't want to see it. And it sort of flowed into that I don't want to see it to some extent. But it got revealed the cost of not really looking at it actually means not being in joy. And to really look what's going on and to see there isn't joy in that. There's just my desire and what I want and how I want it to be, but in truth, there's no joy there. So it's the shedding of the holding on position. It's letting go and not fighting for what you want anymore. Because what you want isn't a fight. It will have a sense of joy to it that feels so natural to you to be present to and follow that. And it was seen, which was a relief, and it was good. I've been there myself. It's like wanting to believe a lie. I've been there. And you give it everything because you want to believe it, and it doesn't work out well. So it really was the joy of being open and to explore fun, because fun really was what the fight was for in the first place. Then it came to something which is very interesting, because much has shifted and moved over the last few months, quite exponentially really. And it came to a point where it was really time to shed a skin. And the process of wanting to, moving in that direction, there was a part that, you know how in homeostasis, once you've adapted to a particular level, it finds it very hard to let go of the old established pattern. And what had happened is the moving to and the shedding of the part of the homeostasis was locking in. And it was saying, no, I can't let go of that part of me. It's a very important part. And in seeing what it was, the holding on was in fact what was creating the pressure, holding on to the old skin and the old patterns. And in letting that pattern go and seeing that it's fighting in the wrong direction, the pressure went. Because it was tangible. And that actually led to somebody who the beauty of the effortlessness of astral traveling in the past, and the memory of how beautiful it is on the other side. But also to realize that being here is important at this point of time. So that was a different sort of a pressure, and it's not letting go of that it exists, but it's a letting go of that's not the driving point at the moment. Knowing that that can be done, that can be achieved. And then it went to somebody where the shedding of the skin wasn't the shedding of its own skin. Its own skin was in a great place. But it was other people speaking their skin into her picture that started to bring concerns. Sometimes we need to shed other people's skins, not your own skin, but that may be good for your skin, not good for my skin. And to let those old pictures and those old concerns and fears out of your skin and not to be influenced by it. And then it came more to actual skins carried and showing how the expansion that we're doing at the moment and letting go of these gripping points to actually see, is there a skin there that I can actually shed? What is it that's still needs to be grown out of? And it was an ancient element of depression. And in removing it, this lightness and this openness of this barrier having been removed, because it was old and ancient, it was just like brushing it off. But we need to see it to be able to brush it off. And it also came to someone who, having had an illness, we can call it, of fogginess and tiredness and exhaustion, and having to work through that process while it was happening to have the mind work and be clear, because the mind is a remarkable mind, this mind. And in the struggle to want the mind to come above it, ended up a permanent struggle that was still around now, even though we're not in that illness anymore. It was stuck in the vibrational aspect of that experience, which is quite extraordinary. If you have an element that was a long time ago that is a continuous struggle because it was so important to you that you still are struggling with it, even though it's not there anymore, that is a fabulous skin to shed. So in that going, the brightness and the lightness of what's actually here, and not vibrationally connecting to something that's old and way gone, and to see that, yes, I'm still reacting to that pattern on a daily basis. And that has to go, because unless that goes, then that freedom of all that is coming your way can't come there, because it's stuck in that pattern. And then it came to someone whose old pattern also wasn't there anymore, and came to realize that the needs she perceived were necessary were in fact not necessary anymore. In fact, the progress going forward is so good and so strong and so new in her life that going further in that direction is the strength and not the need. To be able to see what you don't need is great, because when we're in need, we always feel it isn't there yet, we're still in the wanting. But when you realise that you don't need that, I'm too well for that, it's a freedom. Then the next one was so beautiful, so beautiful. I almost didn't know whether to include this or not, but it's so beautiful. Great pain and sensitivity experienced through life, through school, through being seen, not seen, the great pain of that, and yet feeling this immense sensitivity. And what came through is something you too may resonate with. What showed up was this, again, this pull into the spirit, and regardless of how this felt, it was so clear it did not want to let go of this because it saw it as a great strength, not a weakness in any way whatsoever. And then it went directly into a connection, a deep connection to the Christ consciousness, the depth and the beauty of the capacity of the seeing that the Christ consciousness has. And it brought me back to a picture my parents had in my bedroom of Jesus crying over the wall of Gethsemane, of all things to put in a child's bedroom, but there you go. And I can relate to that picture because in the distance in this picture over this wall, Jesus was looking at the town of Gethsemane. And my interpretation of that is the great sadness that these people don't know who they are. Because the knowing was, we are the same, we are one, we all have this. And the pain in not being able to recognize that in self. So I saw this weekend very much as that coming to see self, and the more we can see self, the less pain, the more freedom. And it ended in a session which kind of went back to the beginning of being able to see things as the nothing. And the more, but this time the consciousness had the nothing as in to be able to see what doesn't fit, and don't lie to yourself, just see it for what it is and be honest. You either can make it nothing and it's nothing, or correct it or do something about it, but bring it to the nothing. And the more we can do that, the more we are ourselves, the more authentic, the more genuine, the more relaxed. And that helps everyone. The two cards that came up were spontaneity and humility. Spontaneity. Have fun. Express your love. Do something unusual or different. Shed a skin or two. Doesn't say that here. Get out of your head and into your heart. Planning certainly needs a place in your life, but do not allow self-imposed rules and limitations to stop you from expressing who you are. Although now is not the time for impulsive spending. Be spontaneous on the inside. Think kind thoughts where none have gone before, especially to yourself. That was my add-on. Humility. Allow an unpretentious but confident air to surround you. Live your truth lovingly. Be prepared to work in service to others without obvious personal gain. Love and enjoy that you can give and feel good about your place in the big picture. It's a big picture. It's a big picture. Now is not the time to rock the boat or stand on your soapbox. So it's just that continuous aspect to be. And if you feel something that's irritating or not quite right, see it as a skin and shed it and allow that to come through as the beauty that each of us is. Much love.